Okay, being that it is 6:03, we're going to bring this Finance Committee meeting to order. It's June 9th, 2025. And first, I'd look for an approval for the May 19th meeting.
Motion.
Second. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. All right, we're going to skip over the per capita tax. It's September yet. We're going to talk about the clear residency verification.
Yeah, I put this back in the update in terms of the feedback that I shared from the vendor in terms of getting started sooner than later in terms of letting, if you have anyone that's potentially on that list to get them before they go out to start paying for the 25-26 school year, if there is anyone, let's say, on that list, not living here, but still being there. And I know there's some discussion from a couple of board members. Did follow up with Kyle. He says a couple not concerns, but just kind of eyes wide open things with Clear. And I think I said this when we first discussed something like this, is we've got to be ready to follow through on our policy as well, to go aggressively after people that are in this situation, to address that. So his concerns in terms of any type of more aggressive, proactive approach there with residency, let's say, not necessarily not Clear, is that you conduct the in-house search. It's okay to focus on the cyber or charter. It's not like people that are living in district are a protected class. It's okay to pick and choose how you want to do that. But a part of I think the contract was once a year they did a full set of your entire student body, and it comes back. It looks like it's in percentages, and then the district can act from there. He said typically what districts see is they may see, because of other situations, an increase in homelessness, displacement, that they may be living somewhere else, but it was not out of thinking you're tricking someone. It was, we just had to go over here, didn't know there was something for McKinney-Vento, where you could go in a different situation, and you also could be headed down increased legal fees and disputes when you really push on someone that says, well, no, I have an apartment and I have that there, but they're not living there, right? So it's where they put their head, not what they own in terms of property. So, again, eyes wide open in some of those conversations. But I had asked him, is it not appropriate to only do one group of the other group? He said, no, that's fine. That's not really the issue. But just making sure that our policy itself, you'd have to lean into. So just so you know how residency works, so there was a question or two from a board member kind of thinking that we don't have someone that this is their job all day long is to do residency. It comes up from time to time. People make, often at the younger grades, it's someone that says, oh yeah, I was stuck on the Northeast Extension all day today because of the traffic, that's why I'm late. You're like, what? Again, then those things kick over. They kick over to here, and Mrs. Malone helps out, Dr. Farina helps out, and they begin to investigate and try to listen a little more and lean in a little more. But it's not as proactive as this. It's some of them are just more, obviously when people come in, they provide the right materials, that goes through that process, and Clear or other companies like this would help with verifying some of those pieces on an ongoing basis.
So do you think his proposed ROI is, because he said what nearby districts were saving, do you think that
I don't think that we have the same level of transiency as Springfield Township, Upper Darby, or the schools that are really collar districts to Philadelphia. I mean, I think we have a couple, but I don't think we have that number. So if he predicted 5, I think that's a salesman number. That's just my gut.
Okay. Okay.
So.
And is it true that we legally cannot demand an address? Like I saw that somewhere that we can't.
I don't know.
You don't think that's true?
That we can't demand. No, we're allowed to verify residency. I mean, a program like this would help, or there's other things that are accessible to that. But I don't believe that they can say, no, we're not going to produce that. Again, that's where I think you head into the legal grounds of
Maybe that was
pursuing that.
the public coming up and talking at board meetings.
I mean, we have a homeschool visitor that's Rachel Maxey, and conduct some of these from time to time. Sometimes it involves sitting in front of a house at 6:30 in the morning to see who's leaving. Sometimes it involves following a car that's leaving to see, is it going right to the turnpike, or is it going left into this development type of thing. That's all a part of the process, so, you know.
Do you have any thoughts, just because I'm thinking about it now, do you have any thoughts, like maybe of a year that we're doing those things? Does that add up to a person? Does that add
It
up
can
to?
from time to time. I mean, Drew, you hear, you probably hear it more than I do over in front of your office when residency comes up, or you get the people that they move and they don't want to tell you that they're moved mid-school year.
Right.
You know, because when they hear the rumors that when you do contact you, the only provision in our policy that allows people to stay is if you're a senior in good standing.
Okay,
You know, if you're a senior not on track to graduate, we don't allow you to stay.
right.
You know, you have to be in
Yeah,
good
that's our
standing
policy.
academic, that's the policy, right? So we lean on that. Even when someone's like, oh, we're moving in October and I want them to stay in Marlboro versus go to Hereford, that's not in the policy. The policy says you have to be in the area residence.
I do see a neighboring district publish something that says, this district asks families to provide proof of residency, however, we cannot by law require them to do so.
I mean, unless it's,
Yeah, I guess the.
well,
proof part of it.
like there was one suggestion to ask all 185 people that are in the cyber world to redo residency. I don't know, I mean,
I think it's different with cyber. It might be different.
Okay,
you know.
okay.
But, I mean, I don't know why cyber people would care
Yeah,
who's paying the bill. Like, it's not like they're getting away with something, because someone's gonna pay it. Whether it's here, or Quakertown, or May, or wherever, someone's gonna pay that, right? So,
Yeah.
I'm kind of split on the issue. I just want to present the ideas and it's not coming with a ringing endorsement because of just all the logistics and, but I don't think I'm doing my due diligence of not sharing these concepts with you guys to see what kind of appetite we may have for this. There's no
What do you think what's
reason.
on the table today is should we rush it or wait?
Correct,
And
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
hearing what I've heard and understanding what you just said about, I don't know if it would move our needle too much.
I mean, again, I think
I don't know that
lucky
there's a
numbers,
rush.
you're gonna hit one or two from that, and then, but again, it's,
That pays for the service, but,
right, exactly.
yeah.
I'd prefer to wait a year or two and see what happens, you
Yeah.
know, and get references from other districts that have used it for 2-3 years, whatever.
I just got
Find
another
out What
residency-
their expenses and savings are.
I just got today, ironically, a white paper on residency verification, I think from a different place, so, no, this is interesting, I'll take a look at this, and I can share that in the next board update. Again, it's just another piece of information, so. If I felt like it was a ringing endorsement, I would be like, we're all in, we should do it, I just don't, you know, plus knowing the sensitivity of it, I don't like that.
Well, the
that's
problem with it
happening.
is, when you hear kids saying, well, I just got off the turnpike because I was staying, you know, it could be a case of the parents being divorced.
Yeah, no,
and they
yeah, well, that's why you
so,
investigate those
you know,
things.
Yeah.
That could account for a small number, but I lived in a different district years ago, and there were communities that had a lot of kids during the week, and on the weekend, there was an influx of kids from the community because, you know, they went to other areas, and it wasn't because of divorce and things like that, so.
But the nuance there, sometimes if you have a divorced family, and one lives in district, and one lives out, but they're laying their head 7 nights out,
Right.
that's a concern.
Yes, yes.
You know, that's a concern. I know that one parent is here, but it's a matter of what that, and the parents.
But
may
then you'd
different
have to
arrangements.
document all that, and that can become
Yeah.
very
And we do,
time-consuming.
when we hear those things, we do,
expensive for us,
we
yes.
do pursue those things,
Yeah.
and we do, when we hear about
And
it.
it
It's
becomes
not
an
as, it's
emotional
not as
issue at the same
proactive
time. Yes.
in terms of looking at that. So, I'm fine,
All
I'm
right,
fine, so I'll
so
just
committee
wait.
says hang in for a bit and see how it works out for everybody?
Yeah, I won't jump into it right away.
All right,
No problem.
all right. All right, moving on to athletic trainer services.
so the packet that I
We
gave the
have
board,
Peg on here, right?
I'm sorry?
Peg's on here?
Peg, yes.
Oh, okay, just checking, it just dawned on me, you're not here, but you're here.
I can hear you.
Okay,
Director Pennypacker, Director McCormick, and Director Flukie are on.
oh, okay, good. Okay, hi, everybody else. Hi. There, there.
Hi.
Happy birthday, Liz.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so athletic trainer services carried over from last month. I did in the packet include copies, and I do have it up here. Take a look at. So just real quick, this is the. That didn't work. So this row right here is the cost. So this is the 3-year proposal with a 2-year option. So you can see in year 1 it would be 60,000, year 2 would be 90, and then 130, 175, and 195. This is also the 3-year option with a 3-year contract with a 2-year option, but this includes 10 hours of dedicated sports performance, which would be 7,000 in year 1, 12, 15, 18, and 20.
Do you know what that actually is? Do you know what sport performance actually, what those extra hours actually are?
Very, very basic. Just it's giving our student athletes like different training things to make them faster, quicker, to just perform better in their sport.
Okay.
So it's almost like I guess it's kind of like a one-on-one or
It's with teams, yeah, or
Yeah.
it's with the teams and the coaches to have them
Okay.
learn the training whether it's speed agility or if it's in the actual.
It's almost like a strength and conditioning
Correct.
coach.
Okay, thanks, Peg.
This is the 3-year only proposal. So this would be 60,000 and then 130 and then 150. This was offered by them as an option, and I basically outright said, I don't know why we would do this, but their thought was get up to their number, that 150 quicker, and then in year 4, it would be a new contract where they would be, so at that point, they would be up to where they wanted to be, and at that point then, they could look at possible donations back to the district for any kind of capital improvement, capital equipment, just something. I said, I don't really know why we would agree to that, because they would, and I asked them if they would put it in writing that in year 4, there would be some sort of contribution back to the district, and they wouldn't agree to that in writing, so. that's what they-
Okay, so never mind that
Yeah,
one.
the 54 is not the donation?
So the 54 was since 2018, what they have given the district in terms of cash contribution towards I
Something.
guess, equipment or something,
In the Ed Foundation.
and the Ed Foundation, yeah.
Oh, okay,
It's like 1,500 a year for 4 or 5 years.
okay. All right.
Then we have the 5-year agreement with a 2-year option. This is without the sports performance, and the next one does include the sports performance. But with this one, I think it's in year 4, instead of 175, I believe, it goes down to 150. Yeah, so year 4 and this one is 150, and the 3-year, that 4th year is a 175. And then there'd be $20,000 savings in year 5 compared to the 3-year with a 2-year option. And then this last one just includes the sports performance here at the bottom. 7,000, 12, 15, 18, 20.
Thoughts, anybody?
Okay, so on all of those, that base total is what they want, is what we're contracting for? Or is the sports performance optional on all of them?
It's optional that we can put it in there, but once we put it in there, then we're committing to it,
Okay,
if that made any sense.
For the 3
No,
or the extension.
that's fine.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it's an add-on, basically?
correct, yeah.
Okay, that's what I want to confirm.
Yeah.
Now, with that add-on, 10 hours dedicated sports performance. Is that 10 hours for each season, month? What is
The year?
that? Sport? The year?
I believe that was per month, but let me see if I can get a hold of Bobby. I think that was per month,
Okay.
That'd be good to know.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, 10 hours is not.
Because I need to get
for
sports.
$7,000, yeah.
Peg, any thoughts on that? Well, we have dead time to Philip.
Well, I have a bunch of questions, so just let me know when it's my turn.
Oh, okay.
All right, you can pop
It's your
in.
turn.
Yeah, go ahead.
Drew, are you there? Can you go back to the first option?
The 3+2?
Yeah.
Okay. So the partnership's been around since 2018, and did we know in 2018 that the numbers were going to jump the way they're jumping now? And of course, they're jumping at the worst time possible. So what did we know in 2018?
I don't think we knew anything more than we know now. I certainly never thought we would pay for that.
By numbers jumping, you mean the cost, right? Not
Yes.
athlete
Yeah.
participants, okay.
Yeah, I'm getting to that, yeah.
I mean, I can
So-
speak from a global perspective. They're saying the shift in the, if you want to call it the market. So back in 2018, 2019, it was, a lot of money was being thrown at school districts to provide trainer services and throw money at districts. And now they're saying that all partners are pulling back a little bit of that, almost like they went too far in giving out services and money.
Yeah, because I will tell everyone that what they did for us starting in 2018, and I said this before, is phenomenal in terms of cost savings for us. I mean, you know, our donation in 2018 was $54,000. We started with one trainer. I don't know when we picked up the second trainer, and then we jumped to 3 trainers, but that kind of evolved over time. And I certainly understand our growth of our program and adding teams and student athletes clearly, but just hold that thought for a second. If you could move down just stay on this slide, Drew, and halfway down you see sports medicine supplies, $3,000, and that seems to stay consistent for every year. So is the $3,000 what we pay, the school district pays for sports medicine supplies?
So-
Does it really equate to that?
Yeah, I think the trainers, Bobby has said the trainers do pick out certain things that they need. What I'm not sure is exactly how it works, if St. Luke's buys it themselves or if we buy it and then they reimburse us. But either way, it is not paid by district funds for those items that the trainers pick out.
Well, we need to know how that works, because if we're paying $3,000 for sports medicine supplies, and then there's a line item in the athletic budget for sports medicine supplies, then we got to know what that's buying. So, you know, athletic tape is not cheap. How do we budget for the different modalities that are needed? Heat packs, ultrasound, all that kind of stuff. So I think there has to be more scrutiny with the supplies, whether it's that $3,000 or whether it's line item in the athletic budget.
Yeah, so if we were buying it and they were reimbursing us, we do set aside money, I call it the local grant. So that would be outside of the athletics budget. It would be separately budgeted, both in the revenue and the expenditure side.
All right, I think that needs to be, you know, I would be curious to know what's being purchased out of that line item. Anyway, so at the bottom, community health, collaboration with St. Luke's Community Health, St. Luke's Penn Foundation to provide programming to address student, faculty, staff, and community member health. What does that look like? What does that mean? What does that involve?
Kathy Ransom from time to time sends out information that we push out through either athletics or through the board, the Friday update to families about things that are going on that St. Luke's is sponsoring. Now Ryan at St. Luke's Penn Foundation, I know Ryan, and he's more on the drug and alcohol type of supports. We also have a contract with him through EAP, through Penn Foundation, so that's a little.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Yeah,
EAP.
that wouldn't be, I mean, he may be the same person
Okay,
doing work there.
so we get free emails?
Their emails and/or he's on site from time to time, depending upon working with their students. They all, this is separate from St. Luke's in terms of this contract, but they're a part of the community tour, community-based tours in the community, and those type of things. So, and they do a community health assessment, so they reach out, they collect that information on behalf of all over St. Luke's. I've been to their presentation to share the community efforts. We participated in their kind of quote unquote research to try to figure out what's needed in this area. So.
But, all right. Drew, can you go to the second option? and go to the second page of the second option where they list their rationale. You don't have that up there?
Are you talking about
No, the rationale's on the
There,
first
that
one.
Yeah, that one.
Second page,
Again,
yeah.
this is the one that really baffles me. And just from experience, again, I said this in the last finance committee meeting, I've never seen a medical group dictate to a school district the number of trainers they must have. Must have, not should have. And some of the things that are stated here in the comment box, the first comment box, they say these are a reference and maybe overestimate needs as they are college and university-based analysis. And they clearly cite the college reference. They say at the very beginning, comparing to other schools with similar numbers of athletes, all have a minimum of 3 athletic trainers. I would like to know which schools. As I mentioned at the last meeting, I contacted a neighboring school district that uses St. Luke's that has a much bigger athletic program than we do. They have 2 trainers. And you know, the way they've mapped this out, you know, either way, if we take 2 trainers or 3 trainers, we're still paying the same price. So obviously, the 3 trainer is the way to go. I mean, it is what it is. Under quality of care comments, athletes, parents, administrators, and the community satisfaction would also be impacted. So are they talking about our community as in our school community? You know, maybe I'm just slicing up the words too much, but I'm just like, how do they know that? So,
I wonder if part of it, Peg, is that they do those physicals? Is that part? I mean, you think they're trying to say that that's what is
Yeah.
a satisfier?
yeah, perhaps.
I don't, you know.
Yeah, under staff satisfaction in the data rationale, they have reducing to 2 ATs would make this a very undesirable position for an athletic trainer, and we would expect increased turnover in staff, and so on and so forth. I've never seen a medical group throw that in a school district's face, and it's really not our problem. The athletic training position is a tough spot, just like many positions in school districts. I just kind of surprised at their take on all of this, if this is actually coming from them.
This is definitely coming from them.
Yeah.
They try to
It is
shame
what
us
it
into
is.
as many
It's
as
like
we
I
can.
said,
Yeah.
it's like I said, you know, if the deal is you get 2 trainers or 3 trainers for the same price, obviously we're going to go with 3 trainers.
Yeah.
So it's done. I'm just really, I'm just really surprised at their approach. And then the last option, I think, is not where we're going to go. That's just my opinion. So, you know, it is what it is. I just have concerns about how this has evolved, and I tried to approach one of the trainers about 2 weeks ago to explain to them, you know, that I'm not trying to get rid of trainers because I'm being the bad guy in all this, which is fine. I'm just asking questions. And I was met with some hostility and probably, you know, emotional. It was more emotional than anything. So, you know, it is what it is. And, but I just have a lot of questions.
Well, Peg, I'm glad you mentioned those because, you know, under staff satisfaction, reducing to 2 ATs could cause some dissatisfaction. Well, I find that a BS comment because we have 3 trainers in 3 locations. So do they have 2 of those trainers staying in one location now or what? You know, And, you know, you've mentioned before about possibly reducing everything, you know, moving from from the 4-5 center over to consolidate everything to the middle school and the high school,
That's what
which
this
we have
says,
to
too.
investigate.
That's what this says too. Consolidating the two sites could increase the burden on
Yeah,
facilities.
well, that's a oxymoron compared to the statement before. Because now you've got two trainers at 2 sites, which is really one big site.
Right.
You know, so,
Just to go
the last 2 things are BS as far as I'm concerned, and I said before, I'd like to see some stats as to what the trainers are treating. You know, how many people are they treating each day or seeing each
Yeah,
day, and what are they doing?
Yeah, to that point, Keith, I wonder, do they keep a logbook? Like, and again, just from my past experience, and every trainer I've ever worked with in the schools I've worked in, there was a logbook.
Well, that's just it also, yes, because I was thinking, okay, if these kids are having a problem, and, you know, during wrestling, one of the kids is complaining about shoulder pain or something like that, which I wish we'd had trainers when my son was in middle school, because he's got a torn rotator cuff as a result of that. You know, are they keeping these notes so that if something develops, kids can come back and say, this started at the school, or this has been occurring for so long, it's a persistent problem. You know, and then the fact that, as I say, we're a nonprofit running off the backs of the people here, I have to justify all my full-time employees. What do they do? I had a staff of 10. I no longer have a staff of 10 because justification for the workload does not pan out, does not equal 10.
Yeah, the logbook, you know, has me concerned to your point, Keith. I mean, that can be a liability issue, but again, my experience, trainers logged every single kid that came into that training room and what they did, what they treated them with. I don't care if it was a Band-Aid, you logged it.
Wait, so do ours not log?
We don't know.
I don't think so, Trina. I could be wrong, but I don't think so.
I would be surprised if they're not. I mean, that's pretty standard.
So to
That's
that
what
point,
justifies their-
I'm wondering, where is the oversight?
Again, that was the key word there.
Yeah.
Dr. Roche said, you know, that justifies their job.
Yeah, who oversees the trainers? And, you know, I don't feel comfortable about this whole setup. I'm just expressing my opinion.
Well, it's obviously like a sales pitch. They just wanted us to have no way to say no, so.
Oh, we can say no. We can say no. We'll just have to go out for another,
Yeah.
an RFP or go with another idea in
Yeah.
terms of that. So
I'm interested in just seeing what another idea looks like. I don't want our kids to be unsafe, but these are all good, reasonable things to
True,
bring
true.
up, like.
Had a meeting with another local hospital
And as I
organization. They
mentioned
weren't
in the
interested.
last meeting,
Okay.
the school district that I spoke to, they're actually going to their own trainer next year. They're not going with St. Luke's anymore. They're going to hire their own trainer. And we're starting to see schools do that again. It's kind of like an ebb and flow kind of thing. And, you know, over the decades, the trainer situation in schools changes. So just something to think about, folks.
When do we need to do something for this? When does their contract expire? At the end of
June 30th.
June 3rd? So,
I mean, the conversation here we're having is about budget. Are we putting a number in there so that we can move forward with budget? We have lots of questions, the ATs and sports medicine supplies, $3,000, quality of care comments, the staff satisfaction, the treatment stats and logbook. So we can work on getting that together. You know, I think the conversation that we're trying to figure out is, are we putting a number in for budget purposes for this meeting?
We have to put a number in.
yes, I
because
would
we
recommend
need
putting in a
something.
budget
We need
for
somebody.
the 3 plus
I
2.
think we're looking at either option 1 or option 2. And if we go with option 1, who knows where we're going to be 3 years out? So, I don't know, maybe option 2 is the best way to go, and just go, you know, next 3 years. And folks, just to be clear, with their options that they're proposing for 3 trainers, it is a good deal. I mean, you know, we're getting a lot for that money, knowing what trainers make and stuff, and
It's just a big jump from the 2018 contract to 27.5 held straight for 5 years.
Yeah.
That's the hard pill to swallow.
Sure is.
so.
So are we saying we need to put the 60,000 in next year's budget for now?
Probably
It's
already
the
is.
What
same
happens-
across all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The 60,000 is in there right now.
okay.
The sports and performance is not.
But they want us to commit to one of these options, right?
They did, yeah, and my only thought is that the last board meeting obviously is June 19th, and we don't have another one until August something. So if we don't have a contract in place, we don't have trainers until.
Right, my recommendation would be that we go for the 3+2, which is your first option on the sheet here.
Mhm.
Okay. We then have that for planning for the next few years. And at the same time, we ask them for backup information. Are they keeping logs? What's the sports performance if we decide to add that on?
If we're going to pay this much, we should have some accountability.
And, you know, I'm sure that if we ask Kyle that if we decide in 2 years that it is no longer beneficial for us, cost effective for us, that we could break the contract if he can take a look at it and see if there's any cancellation penalties.
But even at 130 in year 3, for
Yes.
3 trainers, that's going to be
Still a bar.
still less than probably what if you paid 2 out of pocket.
Yes.
So, I mean,
For sure.
the question is really, if it's 3+2, have an option there to explore the potential of that. Because I agree, Peggy, you've seen that also happen with security, right? For a while it was all contracted, now you're starting to see districts bring on their own.
Yeah.
That it's a similar movement like that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I don't want to commit to a 5-year contract.
no, it's there, it's a 3+2.
Well, no, but the other option, you know, we
Yeah.
could end up saving 25 grand on the 1 year, on the 4th year, but I don't want to commit to that.
Yeah, I mean, as quickly as it changed since, I'd even say after 2018, probably 2019, 2020, when they were throwing money at districts, it has apparently flipped the other way. Maybe in 3 years, it'll flip back and, you know, we would be negotiating at the right time.
Yeah, that's true.
You don't know.
You don't know, yeah.
But we're already dealing with so much uncertainty relative to our overall budget and where money's going to come from. I mean, the state can't even pass the budget yet because they don't know where the federal money's coming from. So it's such a time of uncertainty and really tricky stuff.
But we haven't been unhappy with the service and the care and everything that's been going on through them in terms of the relationship, besides this dollar number.
Yes.
Right.
We've been happy, they've been at the events, they've been, you know, supportive of, you know, working in multiple camp, all those things, including adding a third trainer there, whatever year that was, based upon the increase in sports and whatever need they felt was there. They didn't come knocking at that point and said, hey, we really think you need this and we want you to pay for it, type of thing.
Alan, is there any way we could see the actual contract or agreement from St. Luke's that?
The new one, or what the new one will be, or the previous one?
Well, I'd like to see the one we had and the one we're gonna have.
I have the old one, it's on the
Yeah, I have
desk
it
or
too.
somewhere. I think we've shared it at some
Would
point.
could we see it? Could
Yeah,
we
yeah.
share it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so in order to move this forward, I would suggest that we forward this on.
You guys good with that?
Yeah,
Okay.
So just to be sure, it's a 3-year with a 2-year option,
Correct.
Yes.
yeah.
not the sports performance.
No.
No.
Okay.
No. I'm sure they'll let us pay for that later if we
Would
want to.
you, so when you get back to them, let's say tomorrow with this decision for this, you'll get a new contract?
Yeah,
All
I'll
right,
ask
so
them
I'll
for
dig
it.
up the previous one, it's probably on my desk.
Well, you know, with the sports performance piece too, I mean, that is something that, and, you know, however you want to look at it, unfortunately, could be kind of passed on to the booster clubs. Just a thought, you know, to try to maintain that service.
Well, we need to find out more about what it specifically
Yeah.
entails before we decide.
Yeah.
I've also in a previous area seen a supplemental contract for half of that first year number to a teacher that, or to a staff member, or someone that's in this world that, you know, is prescribed 3 times with each team, each season type of thing, so they actually get a chance to work with them in the gym and this speed and agility type of thing. There's other options to get around that I think are a little more, you have to have the right person,
Right.
or the right, you know, person in the community that's willing to do it for like a coaching salary, whatever it is, but it's the parameters were 3 meetings with each team each season to work with the sports strengthening coach or whatever it was. a
Okay.
little bit. So again, different options there.
Okay, yeah, it doesn't mean we have to do it through them. Okay.
And like Keith said, I'm pretty sure they'd be happy to take our money later.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so we'll move on with that.
I'm good.
Okay. All right. All right, we'll move on to new business. And first we'll talk about the tax collector bank accounts.
Yeah, actually, we could probably hit new business A, B, and informational A and B all at the same time here, because they're all somewhat related. So we're going to have on the June 19th board agenda 8 new bank accounts to open up. 7 of them are the tax collector accounts. In reviewing the resolution for the tax collector compensation, it does make a note in there about not commingling the funds, which I think is best practice. I think that's probably came from a lawyer or an auditor, because that is the best way to do it. So currently, the tax collectors are depositing the money into their account, which is combined with county and municipal taxes. So what we're saying is we're going to open up a new bank account for you, no charge to them or anything. They're going to deposit all of the money straight. When Melanie Cunningham writes a check for her taxes, it goes to her collector. She's going to deposit it right into our bank account that we're opening up. And then we have all the money. It's not commingled. Everything is separate, and we'll have it immediately. And they have the authority to make deposits in there. We have them set up to view, access online. So I just think that is probably the cleanest way to do it for our collectors.
Were they okay with that?
Sure. There was some consternation about
Just
change,
Okay.
but I mean, I think it's,
It's good for liability for them too, so.
I would think so, yeah.
And does it cost the district to open these?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
But doesn't, if I write a check for my taxes for Pennsburg Borough, I write Pennsburg's taxes, school taxes, and they deposit that check into this account,
So-
and then we write a check back to them for,
So the idea is to put out there, and that's informational B, is that, because they are kind of done at different times. I know you can combine county and municipal with school if you wait long enough on the county, but we want all of the school taxes on a separate check. So then we would hope that you would write a check for county and your Pennsburg, one check, and then one check for school, and send it to the collector that way.
But this needs to, I see where you're going.
so you're going to have
Some-
to change the percentage of the people who are writing the taxes to go
So,
from one check
yes.
to multiple checks.
We are going, and the collectors did mention this, but I don't feel like, they didn't really have a ton of people that they said that this happens with.
Okay.
So they were concerned about it,
Just
but
Keith. Keith does
I write
that.
one check and that's it.
And it's
She divvied it up.
It's Patty who brought it up.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
So, I mean, we do have, the way that she could do it is she could deposit that and she could write her own check over to the school tax account. She's just gonna have
For
to
you.
deposit, she's gonna have to make copies of all that and
She
have it
likes
well
me.
documented.
Everybody likes me.
You're giving him money, so.
So it is gonna be a change,
They
and
were
some
okay
people.
with a change in their rate, though.
Yeah, that was-
If that changed, they were okay with it, right?
Actually, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, no consternation.
I just want to make sure I understood the process as I saw it instead of, well, we just have one account for it and that's
It's
it.
going to be on the bill
So,
also.
okay.
To say
Okay.
separate checks.
Okay.
So we already updated our website. I don't know if anybody goes and looks at that, but it's updated and we are going to put it on the
Procedures?
tech.
Yeah, very good.
All right, thank you, that's fine, that explains everything that I had questions for.
UPSD.org/Keith's taxes.
Yeah, and then the other account that we're still waiting for the account number on that, but we will also open up another bank account with Univest, and that is a money market elite, I think is what they call it. It's a higher interest yielding account, which under informational A, we did have a meeting with them, and I said, why are we paying over $100 per month in fees? So in the end, they came back, they cut that. The fees that we're paying mainly are for positive pay, which I don't think anybody should ever get rid of. So that is, we write a check to Trina Charschmidt, it's check number blah, blah, blah for the amount. We give that to the bank, we upload that, right? Upload electronically to the bank. So when the bank gets a check, from Trina, they can look at that and say, everything matches, it's good to go. But if somebody stole her check and put Keith McCarrick for the same amount, that check number, the bank would kick that out and say, something's not right here, and then we can deny it, and it won't. It's a way to avoid check fraud.
So don't even think about it.
Yeah.
I know ways to get around it, I deal with it already.
So we were paying $85 a month for that. Univest has agreed to cut that down to $45.
Okay.
And they said, open up this other account, and you can basically make up the difference and not eliminate all fees. So I said, okay, it wasn't exactly what I was looking for, but I think it'll work. So we're gonna have the 8th account is gonna be that money market account that we're hoping to open up and get. I think right now he said it was 4.59% interest, which is higher than what we're currently getting at Univest.
Okay.
So
Wait,
also-
this is still with Univest?
This is still
Also
with
with
Univest,
Univest,
yes.
there's just a different account. Is this rate variable or?
It does vary with the Fed funds rate,
Okay,
but yeah, we can, it goes up to 25 million is what we can have in there earning at 4.59%.
That's nice.
So
what do we expect to have in there?
as soon as we can, we'll get 25 million.
Okay, as fast as possible. Okay.
Well, with all the tax money coming in,
Yeah.
mostly
That
August.
goes pretty quick, yeah.
Yeah,
I would
we should-
imagine.
Yeah. Now, we'll start to eventually have to pull out of that
Yeah.
to start paying bills, but for a while, we should be able to easily keep 25
Good.
million.
I was
I like
like
it.
4.5% on it, yeah.
Okay, we'll keep,
Yeah.
put that in the, we're gonna keep Drew.
Yeah, we like
June
it.
19th, put it on there.
Yep, you got it.
Appreciate
Okay.
that.
He's like, I wasn't scared, but now I am.
Get what you're talking about? All right, any other questions on that? All right, move on to tidy up contract for 25-26.
Yeah, so when Mike Warbach, our facilities director, was here, he said, hey, we don't have anything on file for you guys for next year. Can you give us a contract? So they provided a one-year contract. I did end up talking to them today.
Okay, good.
I couldn't get a hold of them last week. I'm sure it was nicer and they were out,
Going.
doing
Yeah,
their
right.
jobs. So the one-year agreement is a 5% increase. And I said, would you go for a longer term and cut that 5%? I started out at 2. I didn't think we were going to get there, but I said, would you do a longer term, like a 3-4 year for 2%? And they said, how about a 3-year at 3.5% or a 5-year at 3%?
5 year.
The lawns aren't going away.
Do we like this company?
We love this company.
We love.
Let me just I'll give you the quick history, because I don't know if any of you actually know it. But for whoever, and I don't remember who it was, so I won't say, but I don't remember anyway. They would forget to mow, and then they wouldn't have people to mow, and our grass gets really high really fast. And Scotty, who owns Tidy Up, he's actually an alumni of Upper Park.
Okay.
He lives in Huff's Church,
Okay.
and he started to do it, does a wonderful job, doesn't miss it, ever.
Communicative,
Yes,
attentive.
yes,
Okay.
unless he's out mowing, in which case it's hard to get a hold of him. Because he actually does some of the work too, so,
Fair enough.
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's my recommendation that I'd say go for 5 years for 3%. I mean, that's.
And how long have we had this company? About approximately?
2021,
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna say 2021.
Okay. Did you, by any chance, get a different, like,
It didn't go out for bid.
It did not go out,
Did
no,
not.
no.
Yeah.
Because we really like Scotty. Okay.
And there's all
Well,
kind of
I mean,
key-
he's an alumni too, so you hate to, and he's right here, I don't know if you,
Well, I think
I'm
last
here all
time we
the
went
time,
out,
so-
nobody really replied either.
I think you're right.
Did they have any feedback on quality of care or staff satisfaction? Or
Yeah, right? No? They're gonna send 3
Yeah,
hours instead
Mowers
of
for-
1?
Yeah, we've got 1, 2, 3, 5, 6 locations, so
Yeah, yeah.
No, I don't mind it, but maybe in the whatever we choose, bid it out again, just to see. I understand sometimes it's like, no, we're really happy, and do you know basically what might be available price-wise?
No, I don't have a
And you'd
clue.
have to go out for an RFP
Yeah.
probably because of the cost.
I think at this time, unfortunately, it's too late.
Okay.
Because
Mm,
if we
that's-
do award a contract, you don't want to then go out and do an RFP
Yeah.
for a contract that we just awarded, because then first, if it was me taking the contract, being awarded a contract, I'd say, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, true.
Yeah, and then other people out there would be saying, who might be bidding against them would be saying, what the hell are you doing?
Oh, it's already, like, it's already.
It'll be a
out
3 year or
So the
whatever.
recommendation was what, 5
Recommendation.
years, 3%?
5 years, 3%, that's what I recommend.
I like the 5 year as well. I just do want to say in 5 years, let's do that.
Take a look at it.
Can I ask a
Even though
question?
we love.
The total dollar amount's $5,000 for all this, the whole district
So that was
No,
with the
that's
5% increase.
per cut?
Per class, yeah.
How
That's a
many
lot.
cuts?
It's per cut.
Well, that was my next question. That's per week or
Yeah.
per cut, whether it's per
It slows
week,
down in
10
the summer
days,
because it
whatever?
doesn't, there's no
Yeah.
minimal cutting and then it picks up in the
So in
spring.
July, we might only get 1 or 2 cuts versus 4, whereas, this month, I got Michael on.
550
Twice in 1
times.
week.
Right.
And
then
do
it
we
stops
pay per
growing.
cut or
Yeah.
is
But the
it?
average number of cuts
Just per
is,
They do bill
season.
weekly. They do
It's-
bill weekly.
So we saved money last summer.
Yeah, we
We
did.
should.
There
Every
we go.
summer.
Yeah, I mean, it's a per
It's
cut,
not
it's
brown,
not
it's
an
not being
entire
cut.
season price, it's actually when he does it.
And just,
Yeah.
I didn't mention it, but just to be clear, that 5,000 is with the 5%. So if we go at the 3%, it's gonna be less than that. I'd have to,
Yeah, it was 40, no, 48,
it was,
something like
yeah,
that. That's what I-
48
that's what I
something,
remember.
4,900.
Just shy
We
of.
have a lot of grass. Look at 4, 5, holy crap.
and we probably
That's a lot
get
of
10 to
grass.
12 cuts per year.
Yeah, do we know what we spent last year, or this year?
Per year?
Or
Do they cut
yeah.
weekly?
They can when it's
Sometimes.
really going.
Unless we direct them not to.
Yeah, but I don't know why we would, because it would just be, it would be too much of a mess the second time, the next, if you missed one.
Well, you may decide not to cut some areas depending upon how wet it is and things like that.
Yeah.
Or they may make that decision also.
All right, so last year, let's see, they started April 25th. $15 cuts. It went all the way into, well, December 17th is when we paid it.
Okay. I like it. I'm fine with that.
That's probably a little,
5
that's
years.
probably too many cuts. I mean, I remember they did some other work.
Yeah, they were doing, there was some other work that we had asked them to do also. They do work, and I know Dr. Roach heard it too, they work really well with our maintenance crew, for whatever that's worth.
I would recommend going with the 5 year.
Sarah, good with that? Okay, so let's throw it back to the board.
Okay, so that'll be on June 19th, I'll hopefully get a contract from them.
Exciting stuff tonight.
Now, on to the meat and potatoes.
All right, and I'll run through a couple of things.
Okay.
So up here on the screen,
Oh,
I
and
have a question. Can I say a few words before you get into depth of this? It has to do with future enrollment and budgets and stuff. Is that all right? All right, I thank you. Before we move forward finalizing the budget, I want to take a moment to raise an important issue directly affects long-term financial planning, enrollment trends in this district. According to the most recent projections from the Pennsylvania Department of Education, Upper Perks enrollment has declined from 3,396 students in 2019 and 2020 year to projected 2,743 students by 2033-2034 school year. That's a loss of 650 students. That's nearly a 20% increase over 15 years. To put that in context, the state average decline is under 10% during that same time period. We are, as a school district, are experiencing a steeper drop than most other school districts in the state. The trend has clear budget implications. Fewer students means less state funding. Potentially underutilized buildings and growing inefficiencies. It's something I felt like, was doing some research that we can't ignore this. And I'm not here to suggest that we take action right away or any closures, but what I do believe we need to do is start taking a look at this, and I know you mentioned long-term planning. I'd like to see as, the district, we start evaluating our current facility footprint matches our future needs. Should we be consolidating? Should we explore great configurations or shared use spaces? Are we investing wisely in the buildings that we may not need in 5 to 10 years? I mean, we spent a lot of money for asbestos, which, God, I would have thought that would have been 30 years ago when it was a big thing. So, I mean, those are things that, I'm kind of looking at. So it's not about cutting costs, but it's about being responsible stewards of taxpayer dollars and preserving educational quality. I encourage the committee to consider allocating resources this year for a long-term facilities and enrollment study and to begin building trends in our multi-year financial planning. Again, I know you mentioned that. I'd like to make sure this budget doesn't just meet the needs of today, but also that we are prepared for what's going to happen down the road.
The 20% decline, do you know if you mean like it's just enrollment in the district or losing students to like cyber and charter?
I went on the PDA website and it's pulled some information off.
Okay.
And, I was actually looking for bigger things and I got 505 errors and everything, so I kind of, instead of having a spreadsheet to give everybody.
Your research said that Upper Perk specifically will be experiencing a larger decrease
Than the
in
rest-
students than the rest of
many
Pennsylvania
schools in the
districts.
state, yeah.
Would you mind, if you have that available, send it to us at the board so
That'd
I'm
be great.
interested in taking a look at it?
I know, I looked
And I
at,
can,
yeah,
let me speak for you in a sense. We've already discussed what we want to do with buildings going forward, and we do have we've already done a long-term feasibility study for most of the buildings, so we know the issues with each of them and what needs to be done and what's going to cost us money over the next few years. But I don't know if doing a demographic study right at this point is worth it because that costs quite a bit of money. They did that 5-6 years ago, and again, we were told there's going to be an increase, and we already knew that that was going to be a temporary increase, but we spent the money on a new middle school
yeah, there was
instead of
about,
having a comprehensive plan for our district. And I've been questioned by residents about, I thought we were closing the school in East Greenville, and we've had to deal with that. So all these issues are known to us. And over the next year to 3 years, I'd say conservatively, we will probably have those discussions as to what we need to do with all of our facilities and how to fund everything.
Well, I'm relatively new to the area, so I'm kind of.
Yeah, you missed the big
you
fireworks
missed
a
the
few
big
years ago.
fireworks,
so-
yeah.
I was here, I heard things about it, but I was kind of in my burnout stage of life where I was going through some changes. My wife passed away and I moved down here, and I just didn't want to have anything to do with
Anything, yeah.
politics. So I'm kind of back involved again, so I'm seeing things and I'm getting active again, and so something
Yes, we've had residents mention that to us before.
I heard a lot of things about closing the 4-5 center. I don't know a whole lot about it, but that was mentioned to me when I was talking to people.
Yeah, we know. Trust me, we know. All right.
Just a quick thing, if you're gonna look at statistics and stuff for the future, he is ready to, the regional comprehensive plan
Yep.
for the area also, look at that too, not.
Yep.
We would look at everything, yes.
Yeah, I did all this research back before I was on the board.
Well, the regional plan just became, they just redid it in 2020, so. it's-
Yes, no, I'm just saying, I know that it's available, where to get it, like, I know where to get it. It's been there, got that.
That's right, you sat
I did.
there and, like, yeah.
I had a lot of
You're-
facts.
Sarah, you're on that.
Yes.
Board, right?
Yes. All right, anything else? Okay. All righty, let's move on to
Okay.
Drew, we're ready.
So yeah, just a couple things real quick on that. PD does put out the enrollment projections, which I have. And then if you look back at our feasibility study with KCBA, they've also hired Future Think, which is a company that projects out enrollment. It's interesting to look at them. They're saying in 32, 33, we'll have 3,371 kids, but PDE at that same time, I think has like 2,743 kids or something. So
Yeah, that's what you're saying.
yeah, so it's interesting to see that.
Yeah. I mean, you have to really know your community to know, I mean, at some point, we're gonna run out of room to put gigantic housing developments in, and there's farmland being preserved, and it's, I literally did this, trust me, I did it. And I get where to get the information from and have a whole
I
different
could simplify
perspective.
the next 13 years, the current
Yeah.
kindergarten class is just as large, if not,
Yep.
6 sections at Hereford, 5 sections at Marlboro, which is the most it's been coming through. So if that's any indication in terms of, full classes of 22 plus, let's say.
Yeah. Well, I remember when, during the middle school thing, there was supposed to be a bubble, but then then it started to go down after that, and that's what I've seen. I think people are having less kids, so, all of it, that's a lot of it. And we have the most over 55 communities in the county, which we still do, and we're getting another one, so.
Yeah, I'm looking at the KCVA right now, the projected enrollment from 22-23 to 32-33. The lowest is 3188, 3178, and then you said 3371 is what that number is.
Those are
Roughly
things-
at 250 per class, let's say.
And I think PE was off on their 24-25 projections for us, because I think the last time they did it, 24-25 was a projection. I think they had 3,070. Aren't we right around 3,090 something?
When now?
Yeah, for this year.
Yeah, 3,100.
3,100, yeah. So they were a little bit low there. I don't really know what that means, if that projects out or not, but
Right.
that, we can have a whole separate hour
Conversation
discussion
about
about
that.
And that's
We're scheduling
3,100,
for
that's
September,
3,100
October.
in person.
You're right,
Then don't forget, there's another
the non-pubs and,
195 and the non-pubs that we're still
Yep.
responsible for. So.
yep.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. All right, go ahead.
So I do have up here, the committee is used to seeing this format, those line items that are in gray are new, that the committee has not seen yet. Yes.
Drew, can you share your screen? I can't see what you're sharing.
Oh, this isn't shared
I can
yet.
see it, Drew. I can see it. I can see it too.
Yeah, it should be shared, Peg. I'm sorry, I don't.
It's not coming through.
You want me to take a picture of it and text it to you?
All right, now I got it.
Okay.
Oh, there we go, okay.
I got it.
Okay, so the line items in gray are new. The interest income right there, I've increased $50,000 just based on that Univest account that we talked about. I think with that higher interest rate, we can up that revenue line item a little bit more there.
Good.
FICA retirement, you'll see on the expenditure side, we were able to reduce some salaries, so because the state reimburses us half of the FICA and half of the retirement, when you drop salary, you also have to drop a little bit of revenue for those also. And as of about 3 hours ago, we received our federal allocations for Title I, Title II, Title III, and Title IV. So I was conservative on those numbers, and they did come back up to pretty much where we are for the current year. So that's another 57,000, I think, in revenue that I was able to increase. On the expenditure side, we did get some data from PDE about our average daily membership, which factors into our charter school tuition calculation. Those numbers came in higher than what I was using and what I was basically expecting our numbers to come at. So when I increase the ABMs, that decreases our tuition amount and can decrease about $90,000 of what we had in that charter school budget. So that's coming from 4.2 million down to about 4.12 million. So that was good news. Dr. Roach and I and a few others met and went through the budget again. And we did come up with, Dr. Roach and Dr. Farina came up with another $16,500 to reduce TLS and MCIU professional development services that were in there that we're not going to need for next year. With the athletics, we did pull out the track and soccer coaches. We had an assistant coach for each sport, one for boys and one for girls, in there, along with, I'm drawing a blank on what this sport was.
Basketball.
Basketball we kept in, but track and soccer, it sounded like were meant to be years 2 and 3. so not all in one year. So we did pull out those assistant coaches that are reducing salary, FICA, and retirement. Transportation, thank you to the board again for giving us the software to look at routing that we use. Jen Malone, our transportation director, is doing all the routing, and she's been able to cut back on some runs that we have for next year. We technically probably could have cut more out of here, but we were hit pretty hard this year with the IU billing for special ed transportation, like really bad for this year. So we're thinking that line in the budget is really too low, so we're going to shift some of her savings into that IU transportation line item. And we finished or completed open enrollment at the end of last month, and we did have a number of folks who were on family waive insurance for next year. So I was able to update sort of the enrollment there, and we were able to save $114,000 in health insurance.
So Drew, with the IU busing, just what's the cost of a bus route? Is it $70,000 roughly? Like,
Yeah, about 60, I want to say 61,000.
okay, just, I mean, it often gets discussed.
Yeah.
Is that a bus? Okay.
Right.
5,000, or whatever number is, you know.
Oh, yeah, sorry, it's one bus run with fuel is a 61,220.
Well, yeah, I didn't know, then you said some of the money was shifted out of there for.
Yeah, so-
Roughly, just one the ballpark.
For an IU run?
No, just,
Oh, okay.
that's fine, if that's the number that people ask, because that happens from time to
Yep,
time.
yeah, and that does include the fuel for that one bus too.
Gotcha.
So she did do an estimate of the fuel that will save.
Okay, so when you say you're going to shift part of that back to the IU runs, that is already incorporated into these numbers?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so technically, we could have cut, I'm thinking she's at about 3 or 4 runs that we could chop out, but we're only taking one of those runs, and then the other 2 or 3 are going up into that IU line item, which is already in the transportation budget.
Okay, so you're just moving
Just
things
moving
from
it.
account to
Yeah.
account? Okay.
Budget,
What's a little fun is, this isn't the way I configured it, but it's close to what I had asked for. But you found a way to
We
get
said we
there,
kept
just
working it.
not specifically the
Yeah.
areas I wrote down, but it works. That's,
every little bit helps.
yeah, like, I appreciate that you went back through, I really appreciate that. With that in mind of just what can we possibly do differently or reconfigure the bus route, like,
Yeah.
it's good, thank you.
Yeah.
So then this is where we are right now.
Real quick, and just on that note, Trina, other questions, Mr. Bishop and I talked about, speaking with the administration this summer at our retreat, just because it's in the budget doesn't mean that it's approved to spend. We have to have that conversation at the time, as well as I think one of the suggestions from Mrs. Pennypacker in terms of a hard date of no more spending. And we need to be instituted next year to help maintain that, because that's how you get better at budgeting.
Yeah, I think it's no secret, like, your departments are like, well, we use or lose, and that idea needs to shift a little bit. Use what you need,
Yep.
and then ask for something else if you need it, when you need it, but thank you.
Yep, that's good
Amen.
stuff. Yep, good stuff.
Okay, so that box up top in the middle there, that is, I'm calling it the baseline, it's no millage increase. Our expenditures are at 85 million, revenue is at 78.8 million. So with no tax increase, it's a deficit of 6.2 million. When we started this thing back in March, we were at 7.4 million, just to show you the change so far. Scenario A is a 4.9% millage increase, which would bring in $2.2 million of revenue and bring us just under $4 million of fund balance use. Scenario B is a 4.5%. That'll bring in just under 2.1 million in revenue and leave us at 4.166. And then the same thing with 4% and 3.5%. You can see right there the additional revenue and then what kind of fund balance use would be needed. I think that's all I have.
Okay, if that's all you have, then I did a little research on my own the last couple of days. So, the consensus that I'm finding is that most of the school districts are having the same issues that we are with the charter schools and the cost. Most of the schools, such as like Pottstown, they have a $96.4 million budget, and they're upping their taxes 5.8%, and they have a $9 million deficit. East Penn, $205 million deficit, or budget, sorry, not deficit. They also have almost 8,000 kids, and they're upping their taxes 4%. Springford, which has 8,000 students, has a $215 million budget. They filed for special exceptions for special ed, and they're putting their taxes up 5.14. The only one I saw that was relatively a lot lower, well, there's a couple of them. So Pottsgrove has an $84 million budget, 83.4. About 3,000 students, and they're putting their taxes up 2.1%. Perk Valley has a $133 million budget, 4,868 kids, upping theirs 2.59%. Boyertown has a $150 million budget, yikes. 6,500 kids, and they're upping theirs 3%. So I just thought I would do a little bit of work. Even Souderton has a $4 million deficit on their $162 million budget. They have 6,000 kids, and they're upping their taxes 4%. So I just wanted to I don't want everyone to think that we're in some kind of a different time zone than everybody else is. And I did a lot of reading to see where their boards were going with what they had. Okay.
East Penn, you know, I was on the school board there.
Oh, okay, I don't know. I just was
Yeah,
trying to
I
do
was
what's
on-
around us.
In 2016, we have actually held to a 0% tax
We
increase.
did that
1 year.
twice as well.
But that district, with all the development they had on Hamilton Boulevard, I was on there, I was one of the ones that voted against the tax incremental financing for the Hamilton Crossing. They have so much going on there, they made so much money, and now they have the over 55s. I'm trying to get my kids to show up at the school board meetings to fight the tax increases, because they got plenty of taxes coming in from those businesses
I know.
that they don't need to penalize the homeowners. And that is a problem, and I see that,
Yeah, I agree.
so,
Well, just to say, we don't have that problem here because we don't have any industry. I mean, my 14 people
we
is
got a
one
warehouse
company.
in Red Hill, we got over 55 developments going up, that's gotta be
Yeah, but that's
taxed.
a couple years from now. That's not happening yet. It's not. I
Well,
mean,
warehouses-
I literally asked the questions of the township because I live in that township too.
Thank you.
But I'm not arguing, I was just trying to present some of the things that I saw and some of the things that the nearby. I even did Palisades, but I couldn't quite tell what their actual budget was because they only have 1,360 kids.
So Melanie, I appreciate your research, but I'm not sure what your point is.
Well, my
because-
point is that I know our preliminary budget number was 4.9%. And I know that's giving everyone heart palpitations, and I don't like that either. Because I realized that, for 2 years, we did zero during COVID because people were out of their jobs and.
Right. So-
Okay. So my point is, I don't like it either. I just
Well,
wanted
we know
to.
that. I mean, the point is, first of all, let's compare us with like school districts.
Yeah.
The school districts that look like us,
Yeah.
right?
That was
That have-
Pottsgrove, right, that had the closest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, the tax base that we have, we don't have the businesses, it is what it is right now, folks. I keep
Yeah.
saying this. I mean, we're stuck with next year. But what we really have to focus on is the year after that, the year after that, and the year after that. And so, to Mr. Donatelli's point, this is about what's next. And we can't just sit around and talk about it. This is all hands on deck for all the committees. EPS, you're going to evaluate programs. Is there room to reduce programming? Melanie, you professed at the May 19th Finance Committee meeting that we're not cutting programs. Well, fine, but that's really not for you to decide. That is for the majority of the board to decide.
I meant we weren't going to take away athletics, and that's usually the first thing that everybody
No.
says.
Let me finish. Facilities, has to look at cost-effective strategies. And yes, selling a building could be on the docket. And, you know, look at it this way, it's less grass to cut. Policy, going to have to update and change policy regarding gifts, donations, contributions, corporate sponsorships. Because when you talk about extracurricular and you talk about athletics, athletics is going to have to look to outside funding. And this is the only school district that I've been affiliated with that does not do that. It's just a reality. Communication, we got to get the word out. We got to communicate with our community to let them know what we're going to do for the years to come. So this is a conversation for all 9 board members, a team of, and the superintendent, it's a team of 10. And so I advocate that committees take July off, but I think in August, we got to get back to it. And we really got to get serious about this, about the future. I need a guarantee that the majority of this board will begin now to take steps to control spending and costs for the future in order for me to even vote for next year's budget. And I'm looking for 4 board members, and I will take more than 4, but 4 who will work together with me to look at the future and what can we do and get really serious about this, because talk is cheap, folks. We got to put our words into action and get really down to it. So that's my 2 cents. And
Okay, thanks, Peg. So I just wanted to throw out there that those were the budgets and the amounts that they were going up. Wasn't relating it to ours, technically. Just wanted to just throw it out there because, you know, if we don't look and see what those lake districts are, because you have Pottstown that's 3,244 students, a budget that's higher than ours a little bit, but they're facing a $9 million deficit and 5.8%.
I really can appreciate your legwork on it.
Mhm.
But the folks that I talk to and that talk to me, you know, they're worried about getting taxed out of their homes and
Yeah.
putting food on the table.
Yep, I totally agree with that.
That's where I'm at, and that's just me.
Totally agree with that. So I think, I would say this year has been the best year of 8 that I've been in budgets. I think this year has been the best year as far as this last minute savings. That's amazing. That's great. And it was great that the numbers came in from the state. That's wonderful, that we sometimes don't ever get that.
What is in our savings? I always.
Our fund balance?
Yeah, like, we're obviously expecting to, worst case scenario, have to pull from that. What's in there to pull? It's 4 million, right? Okay.
Yeah, so I have another little update on that. So, you know how I kept telling you, and I don't know if you believe me or not, because why was you?
You make things up sometimes?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I was having a very difficult time projecting out this year. So now we only have 1 month left. So now I'm comfortable looking at the numbers and what it looks like. It looks like we're going to spend right up to the budget for this year. So that's good because the prior year we did overspend the expenditure budget. So it looks like we're going to spend right there. The revenues are coming in very strong. It could be somewhere between 2.5 and 3.5 million more than what was budgeted.
Good.
So for the budget for this year, we did pull out $2.6 million to balance the budget. So really what that says to me is that we're not going to use that $2.6 million. So that $2.6 million will then shift back over into fund balance. So we were at about 4.7. So now we can add 2.6 on top of that, and
So
that's what we have.
7.3. Okay, that's really good.
So I like what you said, Peg. It is hard all year. I've been talking about different things. Why are we doing this? Questioning things. And it is hard at the end of the year. It kind of feels like some of us are like the dad after Christmas in January that said yes to every gift and then gets the bill and goes, wait, what? What did I approve? You know. So I just wonder if we look at this year's budget, when things are approved, things are going to go through. Schools cost money, but I am committed as a board director to support creative ways of funding. I'm interested in what you said about funding the athletics in different ways with, I don't know what all that entails, Peg, that other districts do. I don't know all the details, but I'm committed to understanding different and creative ways in the EITCs, which is on the board already. So, you know, I think that helps with this discussion. Obviously, things cost money. I'm not saying that I don't want to cut programs, but it's okay to dig in and see, is this being used? Do we need this? And like you said, donations to other things, like we're in a deficit ourselves, so what are we doing? But you know, I'm committed to understanding that more within the following year and maybe sooner rather than later than the June meeting, you know.
Yeah. Awesome.
All right, so I think our next step then is what do we think we would be comfortable with then in light of what we have, in light of where we need to go. We all have to remember that we have roofing projects and facilities, which since we do have a study that was done probably in the one before that was done maybe a year or two before the middle school, like maybe 2017. And then there's one before that, and then there's an addendum to it. I have all of them in my basement somewhere. Yeah. Although I'd say the last one was a lot more comprehensive and covered a lot more broad. It was more broad, which was good because I think the others were more focused on wants rather than needs.
Leah, do you have this is probably just really putting you on the spot, but do you have any idea if or when we could see anything interesting from EITCs?
EITC is a complicated process and it has to go through the process of getting a program approved. And then once programs are approved, it's really a matter of any other kind of marketing or donor solicitation, is showing businesses that this is something that they can do. Individuals can also do it of high net worth. But a lot of people don't know about it. And so getting the programs approved is the first step. And Tiffany Pompey, who works for QNB, is our EITC expert, and she's on the Education Foundation Board and the Development Committee with me. So that is something that is part of the strategic planning for the Education Foundation, is upping the ante on EITC because it's something that people really just don't know about.
Right now, there's only 2 programs approved through TC through the Ed Foundation. One is the aqua hydroponics that you see started at high school in every building, and then there's an artist in residence that there's been work done in Hereford and Marble this year with roughly 5,000 that's coming in. And there's been another submission for another bucket, which is more on the television studio side of things, high school, middle school, and
Like the TV news?
yes,
Okay.
yeah, for equipment and those type of things, but not just at the high school, to kind of expand those opportunities through there. So as you're saying, I know I talked to Luann and we haven't heard back lately on that. So there's no bucket right now open for, if there is even one, I haven't heard anyone have done that yet, where that's been approved on the athletic side of things, But, so yeah, it is a process. I mean, you may be more looking at corporate donations and or partnerships, some of the things that I've jotted down over the last couple of months' conversations.
I have understood this is possibly a slow process, but I think with things going on in the federal government, it is going to become more popular. It is going to become more well-known in short order.
As long as it stays. EITC is one of those things that is not something
That's not something we can count on right away
It's not
or in the
guaranteed.
near future, so I would
So it's not just
suggest that
money,
we-
it's got to be already in a pre-approved program.
Right.
It's spent.
So in this
That's-
next year, it's not like, at Christmas, we might see some sort of big, difference.
I think this year, I forget what it was, $5,000 that came in in
Yeah,
September?
that's
Yeah,
not,
so
Okay.
like, I would suggest we continue this
Right now,
discussion at a later
it's
date
not a
because there's
challenge of
no
big bucks.
real worth to it,
okay.
okay, as far as our budget is
Yeah,
going.
I can
But
report
from,
back. I can report back to how it
Yeah,
works.
that's, I just wanted to know if that is
Right.
possibly anything we could factor in the back of our mind.
Right now,
just as a
no.
possibility, so,
right
and that's the
now, no,
answer.
so
Right
I'd
now,
like
no.
to try and pull it back to working some numbers. You know, what you presented to us over the past half hour, 45 minutes, we've increased revenues by 542,000. We decreased expenses by 604, or 640,000. So that's $1.1 million there that we're good to the budget, okay? That we don't have to expense. That's a savings for us. Right now, we had 4 different scenarios there, starting at 4.9, 4.5, 4, and 3.5. Use of the fund balance between all of those, use of the fund balance, if we increase it, we could drop to 3.5, and that use of fund balance would go from 4.9, the total from 4.9 down to 3.5 would be roughly $750,000, $800,000. We've just offset that by that $1.1 million we've saved this evening. So it would be my recommendation that we go to 3.5 for this millage increase. Use the fund balance, using a fund balance of 4.6, which is then offset by our savings tonight. And Drew just mentioned that we expect additional revenue because of increased collections. Now, what the total would be at the end, I'm not sure, but it's
Yeah,
more than we
so-
expected.
Just to be clear, all that savings and all those revenue increases are factored into.
Are factored into that?
Yeah, so that 85 million is after all that savings, and the 78.8 million in revenue includes all those additional revenues.
You were right on top of that.
Didn't you mention something about additional money that, for this current budget that's going to be left over?
Correct, yeah, so that was,
That's in there?
that is not in
Leftover.
there.
Okay, that's, okay. So that, okay, I think
But it
that's where
doesn't
you
matter,
were,
we
wasn't
just
it?
add it.
I'm sorry, was that where you were?
That's kind of where I was going.
Oh, okay, because the one.
Maybe I didn't articulate it correctly, but
I got it.
it's not a claim to fame, sorry. If you
Yeah,
understand me, it's not a claim to fame.
So that 1.174 million up there, that's just the change, I thought that's the number that you were looking at, was the change between the preliminary.
No.
Oh,
I was
okay, I
actually-
got you. All right,
Yeah.
then I misunderstood, my apologies.
All right, so we have to scrap the 3.5.
I still like the 3.5.
Sarah?
I like 3.5. Keith, do you want to stay there?
I proposed it.
I was just checking, just making sure. I know, you're waiting for me to say.
Yeah,
I know, it was
What was
last year,
last
so I'm
year?
thinking.
3.5.
What was that?
3.5 was last year's level.
I think it was 3.9, but then it went
Last
to
year, it was very
3.5.
similar to this.
Yeah,
I can look that up.
I don't remember off the top of my head, and I don't think I have it in here either.
September.
I'm trying to figure out what I'm gonna say, because on one side of that, we're still working in the deficit. On the other side of that, where do we go when we need money for the other $3 million worth of roofing? Did I say that nicely?
Hey, that's a valid question.
Yeah.
I feel like putting our feet to the fire a little bit behind my commitment to watch a little better and be more forthright about where I can see any place that we could possibly save and push a little harder. That's me saying I am committed to that, because I don't have a choice, you know? That's kind of how I'm looking at it.
Okay, good viewpoint.
Well, we need everybody to commit to that, Trina, so I hope, this board is going to, again, commit to that and start rolling up your sleeves in August.
So just a reminder, because we talk about a lot of numbers here, but we do have $200,000 as a budgeted expenditure line item, which is a transfer over to capital reserve to fund those roof projects over the next
Oh,
5 or
true.
6 years.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
that
so this
was
is already included.
that kind of self-funding mechanism that was put in there,
Right,
So we're not
as opposed to borrowing to get
as
it
opposed to
done now.
borrowing, yeah.
Right.
but that final budget revenues is inclusive of that, what you
It's
said
already
we're
included.
getting?
No, we're not getting it, we're saving it.
Yeah, so that whatever it might end up being, 2.5 to 3, whatever, just estimating what we're gonna be over for this year is not included anywhere in those figures up there on the screen.
I don't have last year's in front of me to confirm, I just, by memory, I thought it was 3.5.
That sounds good.
It was.
Yeah, on the agenda, it was,
And then in the meeting,
Pardon?
President McCarrick came and said, I propose 3%.
so what's on the agenda is 3.9, because I believe that was a finance committee recommendation, 3.9, and then it was changed, I believe, at the table.
To 3.5.
I thought it was 3.5.
Yeah, I think I remember re-signing a new paper for it.
I think I had multiple resolutions there.
Yeah,
not
you
knowing.
did.
I had
Yeah.
3.9, 3.7, 3.5.
Mhm. Do we have any comments from the audience?
Well, why don't we
Thank you.
take comments from our fellow board members that are in attendance?
Yeah, that would be a good idea.
So my comments are in line with Trina and Patty in finding some external sources of support that aren't on the backs of our taxpayers. And that's going to take some real commitment from everyone. And we can't go to the well too often. But once we get there, I think if we lay out our case to some of the businesses that are, I mean, St. Luke's, they're not hurting for money,
Yeah.
and we're giving them a lot of money. But sponsorships coming from some of our community partners, our community stakeholders who are getting our graduates into their businesses as employees. I really think we have to think about putting together a plan, putting together a case statement, what are our priorities, and how can you support us in these priorities to help our community? Because like Pike said, our community has lost trust in us in being that, we're just constantly putting the topics that we don't understand because we really apparently not communicated to them why we're in need of putting up the taxes. I recommend that we do what we said we were talking about doing and putting the ad in the paper and laying out the facts and letting the community know why we're going with this percentage, whether it's 3.5 or 10.5. This is what we're doing and this is why we have to do it. And we ask the community to support us. The other thing I think we have to go to is our legislators and get them to understand that education is expensive. It shouldn't be on the backs of the taxpayers. And these reforms that are talked about but never acted on, never voted on to our advantage, need to be, we really need to hold them accountable. So again, the resolution from our board asking them to support the budget and what's coming in. The House just passed the reform for cyber charter schools. It has to go to the Senate. There's some, reticence that the Senate is going to pass it. So we need, our voices need to, we need to be locally vocal about what we need to our legislators, to our community, to ask for help and support.
So do you have thoughts on the budget increase?
Pardon me?
Do you have thoughts on the percentage increase?
The thoughts on the percentage is, I'm okay with none of it. But I think if we can do it at 3.5% and, you know, just keep our eye on what's happening over the next year and even inform our faculty and staff that, you know, the budget's been approved, but they don't have to spend the money. You know, this theory of use it or lose it, you know, that has been my experience at every educational institution I worked in, was, you know, this time of year, we were buying things for the next year so we wouldn't lose this year's budget, rather than pushing that money into the next year. So, you know, it's a way of thinking that has to be, you know, revised and more fiscally responsible on everybody's part. 3.5.
Thank you.
So Drew, what do we have in the balance right now?
In the fund balance?
Yeah.
So we have $5.7 million as board committed for capital projects. So that's sort of set aside from everything else. We have the 2.6 million was in assigned fund balance. That was to balance this year's budget, which we talked about we're not going to need, or let me correct. My projection is we're not going to need. And then we had 4.68 million in unassigned.
Okay. So how confident are you in your projection for this year's budget? I'm just bringing it up because
I feel pretty good
you
about
wiped it down to 0 from
Right.
3.5%.
Yeah, I feel pretty good about that projection. It looks like it would be pretty good. I mean, we only have 1 month left here to spend, so I'm looking at what was spent last year for the month of June, which isn't just June, it's also July and August for those things that come in
Right.
after the fact, but get recorded back. I mean, if we do the same thing that we did last year, that's where we're gonna end up, is 2.7, 2.8 million above revenues.
Okay.
And the expenditures are pretty much right there on budget, possibly 300,000 less. So yeah, to your point, that 4.6 could be gone and we'd be left with 2.6.
Right. Wipe it down.
Yeah.
And I know Melanie mentioned the roofs, but there's a lot more than just the roofs that we
Yeah.
We know,
Well, that's
we
just
know
the
what's
big
in
one
the
in my head.
KCBA study. We know what was presented to us at the Facilities Committee for Athletics, which I think that speaks to what everybody's been saying, where we have to have more of a community outreach to get sponsorships for things, because sure, we need stuff. We all know we do, but it's right here in black and white that we don't have the funding for it to do it. So we need to get more creative, but as long as you're confident, Drew, I'm confident that we can go to 3.5.
It probably wouldn't be Drew's recommendation.
No,
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it can be, to be honest with you. I'm not allowed to be that person. I'm supposed to be the conservative one saying 4.9. And then duck when everybody in the audience.
What's that,
goes.
5%, is it you said?
Yeah, at least.
That's why you don't recommend.
Yeah.
Liz, Emily? Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, go ahead, Liz, you can go first if you want.
I agree with everyone that's talking about savings and the 3.5 or lower. I do agree with Peg about, you know, the people that are really hurting, and you don't want people to lose their homes and have to leave the area. And that we need to be really careful with what we're spending and looking at outside sources for funding.
Yeah, I agree with what, you know, you all are saying, and absolutely, I am as comfortable as I can be with 3.5. You know, having said everything, I do agree that, you know, we should be doing the suggestions that I think it was JP and Peg made around, you know, expenditures over a certain amount we're reviewing. I know we do a lot of that already, but I think, you know, we need to really be paying very close attention to a lot of that. And, you know, we do have to start taking some real serious looks. I know you guys have talked about the feasibility of studies and things, but, you know, start making some big plans that are major in the next several years to try and ensure that we're cutting where we can cut from a facilities perspective, and look at things like the 4-5 center. I guess what my main point is. But, yeah, I would say 3.5.
Okay. Peg?
I don't feel comfortable going any higher.
Okay, Peg?
You know where I'm gonna land. And again, it's pay me now or pay me later. So again, it's what everybody has been saying. We gotta roll up our sleeves and plan for not next year, but the year after that, and the year after that, and the year after that. When some of us will no longer be on the board, and then the decisions we make today, future boards will have to deal with. So we need to be sensitive to that. But hey, I'm ready to dig in if you all are ready to dig in. So
I think we all sound pretty ready to dig in.
I also think it's really important that we are putting some of the money, like Drew was talking about the 200,000 that we're putting into, sort of savings and putting away for those contingencies. I mean, we have to be smart enough to do that kind of stuff too. And we can't be short-sighted to just say, well, we're going to cut it because, we have to, right? And we are very concerned about about raising taxes, but at the same time, we can't leave ourselves leave the district in a bad position to not have the money when we need it for things like roofs and, that kind of stuff. So I think because we're able to do both of that, we are sort of being fair and balanced to a degree.
Okay.
I just want to reiterate, like, for everybody's agreeing with, it sounds like 3.5, and what I said was, this is me telling all of you that in the next year, I'm committed to making efforts to bringing that down, all our expenditures down. So don't give me funny looks when I bring up unpopular opinions. All right, I'm telling you, y'all agree with me today that you're on board with bringing up stuff that might be like, she's thinking we should decrease that or whatever.
Don't worry, I'll give you funny looks.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
Keith, I think that's just your face, isn't it? No.
Yes, if you watch closely, you're correct.
But I'm saying to you all too, I'm committed, and when you bring up cuts that I'm not happy with, like, we talked about this today. We already said we're going to have hard conversations.
All right, Madam President, I think we beat this horse
Okay.
quite well.
So we have a motion for 3.5 as a
I think we have
recommendation?
consensus that we
Do I have a
should move
second?
3.5.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, 3.5 it is. That's Drew's gonna cry.
You all right, Drew?
Oh, I'm
I'm
good.
Yeah.
You need one of those trainers?
Well, we didn't really. Oh, yeah, the positive pay we already talked about.
No, I think that's the end of, we got it,
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, just a reminder, pay your school taxes separately.
Yep.
Keith?
So
Please.
do we have any public comments, or are we topped out for now?
It's encouraging, I say. The discussion seems to be in a good direction for the community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, committee
Motion
members?
to adjourn? Oh.
Committee members? All right.
Sorry, no.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, any opposed? All right, thank you, everyone.
We beat this one.
Yeah, we will.
I think it's okay. But then we can't say we skipped, we cut it.
Thanks, Liz. I'm shutting it down.
Yeah, thank you.
See ya.
Thanks, guys, for coming on. And thanks for the numbers.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right.
Yeah, it's all the
Madam Money?
Megan Money.
Megan Money.
I was like, wait, is Megan Money says happy birthday?
Okay. Well, I started with the money lady, because I didn't have a name. So then it just morphed into Megan Money.
I know.
Nobody's ever said that. I've always felt.
Making money, they've always called you?
No, nobody said that.
No? There you go.
I like that.
Thank you guys
We
so
had
much.
someone we worked with, his name was Bill, we always called him Dollar Bill.
Oh, that's great. That's a good one.
Hey, if you hear anything about that, so are you definite this is 55 and over?
Yeah.
Right across from Walmart?
Yeah.
Yeah, she should know. Melanie, right across from Walmart, 55